So, all right, we went live. So my name's Michael. I'm with an organization called Teach Construction, and we're working with WORKNOW to create a series of live streams. And really what these live streams are is to work with some people in our community that are running some fantastic programs, and we want to learn more. And the whole goal, as we were talking before we started, was we want to do these as a live stream so people have an opportunity to type in a question. So we're streaming to the WORKNOW YouTube platform, to their Facebook platform, as well as to our social media within Teach Construction. We work with a lot of other schools and provide instructional resources for schools to actually teach construction. So we're more of the technical and the instructional side supporting WORKNOW. But from this aspect, our goal is to figure out who the heck are you guys and what do you do? So we chatted a little bit, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about the programs that you run, and we'll kind of do a deeper dive into some of those. So if you don't mind, Lorenzo, we're going to start with you.
Yeah.
So you've got a cool program within energy efficiency, and you're doing audits on houses, right?
Yeah. So we do audits and air sealing. So we're a nonprofit organization. We primarily go to lower income households. I say lower because it's actually like pretty high. Like,
it's expensive to live in Denver, so it's not hard to be below the area median income.
Yeah, and it's like, and if you I think a lot of people would qualify for a program, they just don't know about it.
Okay.
So if they have a family, if they have children, 2 or 3 kids, like they'll probably qualify for our program unless they're making a whole lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do is we do an energy audit. We try to find air leaks in the home. We have like a little conversation with the client, give them tips on energy saving behaviors. That's one of the biggest things is like, there are things you can do in your home that people just don't know about.
Okay, so you'll spend time with them to kind of coach them on how to save money on an energy bill?
Exactly. So there's like an informational piece, and then then we do an energy audit where we run like a blower door test.
Mm-hmm.
We set up a huge fan on the front door, and it sucks the air out, depressurizes the home, and it simulates wind hitting the home from all directions.
Okay.
And so then we can feel air. So like if there's an air leak, we can feel the air coming in, but in reality, that's air escaping. That's warm air, like in the wintertime, escaping.
Right. So you're simulating that air.
Right.
You're measuring it coming in, but in a real environment, it would be air going out.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. And like this allows us to like actually feel like, hey, there's a huge air leak right here. Like I can feel the wind coming in hitting my hand.
Which I think a lot of people would be surprised at just how much a house leaks.
Yeah. And we also show the client, like, look, here's this spot right here. If you put your hand, they're like, oh yeah, I can feel it. Like mind blown, because normally you don't feel air escaping, right?
So, exactly. Great point. You can feel it when it's hitting you, but you're not outside the house trying to feel it. Right.
Yeah. And so then what makes our program different is we also do air sealing, and it's at no cost to our clients.
Okay.
The audit and the air sealing is at no cost. I think typically in an energy audit, they just identify all the air leaks, and they let the homeowner know, like, these are things that you could do.
Right.
To
report and give you some ideas.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas us, it's like we'll identify the air leaks, and then we'll like do something about it, like right then and there. We'll put up weather stripping, we'll do caulking or foaming, we'll throw up door seals.
So when you say weather sealing around doors, talk to me a little bit more about that.
The biggest thing is, like, if you look at your front door or your back door, if you can see light shining through, that means air can escape. Like if sunlight can get in, air can get out.
Right.
And so, like a simple thing, I'll show the client, look, can you see all the light showing through? By the time we're done, there's no light.
So you're installing something on the door to help fill that gap.
It's like on the frame of the door. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly.
Okay. And there are on most doors now a gasket that's on there, or sometimes they're metal, sometimes they're plastic.
Right.
But those are things that you get caught on your jacket. Sometimes they get ripped, and they take them off.
Pets would chew them up.
Good point.
And also, we, like the homes we go to, we work primarily in the city and county of Denver, and the homes are older. They were built like in the 50s, or maybe there's like an elderly couple, they bought their home in like the 90s or something. They're still there. It's like all the new homes have, they're good. Right. Yeah, we're going to like older historical neighborhoods in Denver.
And a lot of that, excuse me, a lot of that reason is now the energy code, which is part of the building code, requires a lot of things to be done in houses that wasn't there. So you look at houses in the 50s, and you can find some of them, you probably run into them, that have next to nothing for insulation.
Oh yeah.
So you just sit next to a wall, and it's cold outside, and it's just as cold inside.
And so that's another thing that we do. We check for insulation, and then we support them in getting insulation upgrades.
Okay.
Attic and wall insulation, also at no cost to the client. So like, here's an example. We went to a home. It was like a young man, like fresh out of college, got his first home, knows nothing about houses, and energy bills going through the roof, rising gas prices, and so he gets new windows, pays like $5,000 for new windows. He thinks his problem is windows. We go over there like, look, you have no wall insulation, and you have 3 inches of attic insulation, and this is like Southwest Denver. Those $5,000 that you spent on your windows, like insulation would have done that.
Yeah. Excuse me for anyone listening. I got a frog in my throat today.
And so like, that's being in this position. I've transitioned into the construction industry in the last several years. And like the main reason was because I knew nothing about like houses, how to fix things, how to build things. I knew like nothing. I didn't even know how to use a drill really. Like I worked in the education system.
So how'd you get over that fear? Or did you have a fear? I didn't know a lot, but I want to go into this industry.
So one of it was I just had this sort of personality where I just feel like I could learn and do anything if I just stick with it long enough. And I'm okay with like not being good at something. Like I'm okay with like looking dumb for a little bit as I learn, right? Like essentially. And I also had like a support system. So like all my family's in construction. My dad can like remodel an entire house. My brother's an electrician. My other brother is in roofing, and now he's like a contractor. So when I transitioned, I like talked to one of my brothers when he was a roofing contractor at the time. I'm like, hey, can I work with you? Can you like show me how to do this stuff? And he's like, yeah. And it was like, it was tough. It was difficult at first. It was like a complete mess, but like being my brother, he was patient with me, and it wasn't like a boss employee relation. It was like a family. Like, I'm sure how to do this.
That's one of the things in construction that's unfortunate. We're in an industry that wants new people to come into the industry to work, but we're not that patient.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's tough for new people coming into this industry and to feel, I don't know, dare I say, vulnerable. You're showing up to do work, but somebody's getting upset with you. So it's just a realism that is in construction. It's unfortunate. And we hope over time, those that are looking for new employees become maybe better mentors, better trainers, better teachers. And this is not everybody, but construction, you often hear people say you need thick skin, so I hope those that are watching or those that are considering being in our industry don't let that deter you. Because like you said, a perfect thing, you felt okay to be wrong.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing to do, which is so fantastic. So.
Yeah, and that influenced. So now I'm the director of the energy program. So that influenced sort of how when we bring new people who have zero experience, essentially they shadow me for like a month. Like they're still employees. I'm asking them to do things, and I gradually release responsibility to them. Like when we first install like a door kit or like a door seal, I'm there with them the entire time. I do it. I let them watch me do it for 3-4 times. And I'm like, hey, do you want to try it? So then I work with them, give them tips. Maybe they're putting the screw in at a different wrong angle, like try to get it. Yeah. All the things, and essentially like the first month, they're just shadowing us. But
getting paid for it.
They're still employees and they're learning, and there's a gradual release of responsibility. So by 3 months, I expect more, and by 6 months of working with us, like I'm more of just a supervisor.
Right.
So,
and these are full employees. You're not bringing contractors on. So you're covered under workers' comp. They're an employee that has employee protections.
Exactly.
So, which is fantastic. I often talk about and are upset with our construction industry that we use so many contractors, or a contractor of a contractor. And what happens is it doesn't make it as an attractive job as being an employee. And if I get hurt on the job, there's protections to support me. So thank you for actually having employees versus contractors.
Yeah, we have paid holidays, sick time, benefits, all that.
Fantastic. So, Erin, I know you're sitting there saying, I want to talk, I want to talk. So you are new to Groundwork, right?
Pretty new. Yeah, I started as the volunteer coordinator in August and
Fantastic.
recently moved into the Green Pathways project manager role.
So Green Pathways Project
Mhm.
Manager. What's the Green Pathways Project?
Great question. There's a lot of ways to answer that question. Groundwork Denver focuses a lot on youth voice and our youth programming. And the idea of that programming, it starts from 13 to 18-year-olds, which is summer programming where we encourage them to be environmental stewards and advocates in their communities.
Mhm.
And so once those youth turn 18, then we want to provide them with options to continue their advocacy, environmental stewardship, and interest in what a green job might look like. So my program is called GRIT. It's a Green Infrastructure Training Certificate Program.
Okay.
That's for young adults ages 18 through 24.
Just missed it, just under the over the
wire. So these young adults then can take that hands-on experience that they've had and now apply it to getting trained in green infrastructure. So it's an 8-week program where they get paid to go through this certification program. And they're essentially learning, basically, I feel like where the future is going. That's kind of the whole idea of GRIT, where the future is going with job demand in especially the Denver metro area. So all the different projects that are being implemented to increase like improving and restoring the environment in urban spaces.
Mhm.
When you think of green infrastructure, you kind of want to think of green spaces in the city that mimic nature. And the idea of those spaces is to keep our waterways clean. So when it's stormwater management, essentially.
Okay.
So like if we get a big storm in the city, what's going to happen in a heavy like concrete or paved area? Flooding's going to happen. It's going to pick up a lot of pollutants and then it's going to go right into our waterways. So green infrastructure mimics nature. If you take away the concrete, what would be naturally occurring there,
natural
right?
filtration of the earth and everything.
And so that could include like permeable pavement as well, but also like rain gardens, stormwater gardens, trees. Tree canopy is a big part of green infrastructure. Even green top roofs to like absorb that water before it even goes through the gray infrastructure, the gutter as well.
So a participant in your program now would learn all about those. So you would spend time to educate them, not only what's possible in the future, but is it also concentrate on what can I do now?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a pilot program. So it's still in the process of creating this curriculum for the cohort that's starting late summer. It's going to be an 8-week program starting late summer. And what I really want to focus on is making a strong case for being like having awareness and environmental justice. Like, why are we doing this? Why do we care about green infrastructure in the first place? Like a paycheck is nice. That's cool. But like had to have that purpose to get out of bed in the morning too, like really understand like how I'm contributing to environmental justice and improving the environment in my own community.
So if somebody was interested in enrolling, and we've got a couple of questions that are coming through, and Whitney, who's part of WORKNOW, is just off screen prompting us to say, how does someone enroll in GRIT?
Oh, that's a really good question right now because we're still in that recruitment phase, or actually planning recruitment, also like getting kind of like the job description out there since it is a pilot program.
So will information be on the Groundwork Denver website?
Yes, eventually. Okay. Right now, I don't have anything concrete to put out there.
And to clarify, we're Groundwork Denver, not Groundworks Denver.
I didn't say plural.
Well, no, but
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because the first time for those listening, when I first I was saying Groundworks Denver, and Groundworks Denver is a different company, a for-profit company in Denver.
Right.
They do like foundations, so that's ground.
Yeah.
So if you Google it, it'll come up first because they have like that paid advertising.
Sure.
So I'm just throwing that out there. It's Groundwork Denver. We're a nonprofit organization.
Yes, thank you very much for that.
Yeah. But what's kind of cool about our recruitment process that's happening right now is we also have another program for young adults. It's called Green Corps. that
Okay.
happens in the summer. So 18 through 24-year-olds as well. And they get to do a lot of work out at the Rocky Mountain Arsenal during the summertime. It's again like environmental advocacy, stewardship work. And what we're trying to do is create these programs so they're back to back. So a young adult could sign up for Green Corps, and then as soon as Green Corps ends, they can go into this GRIT, Green Infrastructure Training Certificate.
Fantastic.
So again, it's that hands-on experience and then moving into that certification process. So when they go into, when they're seeking a job,
Mhm.
they have some really good stuff on their resume. They have that applied learning, and then they have that certificate as well.
So that's for 18 to 24-year-olds.
Mhm.
And there'll be information on the groundwork. What's the website?
Groundwork
Denver,
Groundwork Colorado.
Groundwork Colorado.
.org.
Groundworkcolorado.org.
Yeah, Groundwork. So we are Groundwork Denver. The website is groundworkcolorado.org. I always get that confused.
So anybody
myself,
that's interested can go to groundworkcolorado.org, learn
Yes.
more. It's not there yet,
Right.
because you're still developing it. So hopefully people check it out, learn about your program,
Yeah.
and can learn about your program coming up.
And to build off what Aaron was saying, like what we're trying to create here in our organization is sort of like a streamline. So someone could start in maybe our youth program.
Mhm.
And once they age out of the youth program, they can do the Green Corps program, and then maybe transition to the GRIT program, and then maybe do like an apprenticeship in the energy program, right? So like that's what we're essentially trying to create.
Right.
And it's a great resume builder. One of our auditors right now, he's in training. He started as a youth in the youth program,
Mhm.
and then he did Green Corps, and now he's in the energy program.
Fantastic.
Right. So now we're working to get him certified and all that stuff.
But that doesn't have to happen. Someone could start with your program, work for, just say, a year,
Yeah.
and then go off and do something different within our green energy construction space. If they
Yeah.
wanted to.
And we actually have funding. We just received a grant to have like apprentices, like young adult apprentices.
Well, what age?
18 to 24.
Okay, so fantastic.
18 to 24. So that's coming like real soon. We're just working out the details.
Mhm.
And great resume builder. And if you're looking into the construction field, like this is a great place to start because you have that building science principles to know what's going on in a house.
Mhm.
But like also it's like I did some remodeling work after the roofing. I went did some remodeling, and if I would have known now, like back then, like I would have air sealed the home before putting in new cabinets.
Right.
Because now there's huge air leaks, plumbing penetrations,
Right.
like it would have made me a much better in like every other field.
Mhm. So there are two things I want to plug to folks watching. We, through the WorkNow partnership, you can go to worknowlearn.org and create an account on an online learning system and learn about green job career opportunities. There's a course that by creating an account, you'll automatically be enrolled into called Green Jobs Explained, where you can learn about different green jobs, including energy auditing. We didn't talk specifically about the green infrastructure work, but now maybe we're going to have to, so I'll pick your brain more on it.
Cool.
But there's other classes on there too. So, you mentioned when you first started in this work, you didn't know how to use a power drill or know how to use some other power tools, which is really common. On the Work Now Learn website, there are courses about basic hand tools, basic power tools, basic power saws, and the proper way to use them. Not that I think you can learn everything by just going on the internet and watching a video, but you can learn what those tools are. What are the safety procedures I should be using? What can that tool do? What can't it do? And what shouldn't I do with it? So when you show up for someone to work with them, you have some of that base information, some of that base knowledge. So when you're working with them and training them in that structure you mentioned earlier, that person will be able to exceed much faster because they already have some of that basic information.
Yeah.
So let's see what we have here. Whitney posted in the chat the link to Work Now Learn. Thank you very much. Rich Marr was asking, when does the cohort start for the summer session?
Okay. Well, if you're interested in Green Corps, that will be starting in June through August. And again, soon we will have on our website like the actual job description where you can come in and apply. Also, I guess you could also reach out to me if you're interested in applying for that right now, Erin at groundworkcolorado.org. And then the GRIT cohort, Green Infrastructure Training Certification Program, will be late August through mid-October.
Okay. What about for those people that may be watching and live in a house in the markets that you serve? Is it only Denver for groundwork energy program, or?
It's primarily Denver. Every now and then we do get grants to work outside of Denver. So currently we are working in Carmen City as well.
Okay, so a little bit of Adams County.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It just depends on where the funding sources are coming from.
Sure, because someone's got to pay for it.
Yeah.
There's nothing's free, but you have to the homeowner. You've got government programs or some energy conservation programs,
Right.
which will help pay
Right.
to upgrade somebody's house.
Right. Yeah. And one thing I forgot to mention with energy audits, we also do like a safety check.
Okay.
So we check smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. We check their combustion appliances, like the furnace and the water heater, to make sure that they're safe. There isn't carbon monoxide leaking out of the water heaters.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think when people hear a safety concern, especially in our houses, their ears perk up.
Yeah.
So you're talking about carbon monoxide, other carbon dioxide potential leakage from where?
Primarily it's their stovetop, and then their furnace and their water heater. So for example, I've come across some water heaters. Well, basically whenever something is burning, it's going to create carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide.
It's a byproduct for burning gas, right?
Yeah. And all those gases need to be safely ventilated out of the home. And come across situations where in order to save some money, maybe people do it themselves.
Okay.
And not knowing the safety hazards that could be involved with it. And what that, like, I went to home in Commerce City. Is actually someone in our youth program, in Commerce City youth program. I did a little training for them, and I think he saw, like, wait a minute, there might be something wrong with the water heater. So then we went over there, part of the grant, we went over there, and there was definitely, their home was fitted for a power vented water heater. It went out, and to save some money, they replaced it with a natural gas water heater, and the ventilation was not suited for that.
Okay.
And it was,
When you say ventilation, just so I can help though, that's when anytime you burn a fuel, it creates a byproduct. Like you said, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, a bunch of other nasties. But you want to have that leave the house.
Yeah.
And that leaves on a flue pipe that's typically above your water heater or your furnace.
Yeah.
You had said a power vented one. Newer versions have a fan in them.
Right.
Not the brand new versions, but the 80% efficient ones have a fan that helps that exhaust gas get out. If that fan's not working, that's where you end up running into problems too, or an atmospherically vented unit.
Yeah. And what this does is, like, it can go undetected, and what family members, children could experience are like headaches, because carbon monoxide blocks the oxygen absorption in the body, especially like the brain.
Right. Carbon monoxide will kill you.
Yeah.
You don't want to have it. It's bad.
Yeah. And we've been in other homes where water heater is downstairs in the basement, and the kids' rooms are also downstairs adjacent to the water heater, and it's spilling back like crazy.
Right.
And the kids complain about having headaches, and going to school or whatever. Parents could think, oh, they're fine or whatever. And this could be difficult for them to concentrate in school, remember to learn things in school, and it's because of what's happening in their home.
Right.
So for me, this is also very eye-opening, right? Like that your home, it's not just, I'm very big on like food, diet, exercise, and healthy lifestyle, but it's like, hey, your home, your water heater, your combustion appliances could also contribute.
Right. Now, we don't want anyone to think that all homes run this risk.
No.
So not every furnace does run this risk, but older units, typically that have been in houses for 20, 30 years, have more risk for this, even though a new water heater could have a backdrafting type of problem. So if there's a concern, you can talk to people like Groundwork Denver and see if they're eligible for your program and take a look at it. But what we don't want is everybody thinking, oh my gosh, we've got to check everything. It is always good to respect appliances that are in your house, just as much as when you were taught as a kid, don't touch the stove, it's hot. I think the adults should also be aware that we need to ventilate and get that nasties out of the house. So that means a fan that is behind a gas burning stove course, this doesn't happen if you have an electric stove. It's only if you have a gas burning stove. But it's fantastic that you're doing a lot of that work.
Yeah, so like the majority of the homes we go to, like there are no issues. Like there's no like health safety issues with their furnaces or water heaters. Every now and then we do come across a home with like, whoa, like I'm glad we're here.
Right.
Or we'll find like a gas leak.
Right.
Hey, we're glad we showed up and we could help.
Right. Which is great that you do part of that testing. Now, two things I want to talk about as we have 5 minutes left, and hopefully some more folks may put some questions in. You had mentioned the word training. So you guys do training internally on how to put air sealing or how to check that house. Do you also send people to other training?
Yeah, so when we first hire people on, especially if they have little to no experience, we do a lot of in-house training.
Okay.
And if they feel like, hey, like I want to do this, or I can see myself doing this for, this many months or the next year, whatever, then we have to get certified. And it's a BPAS certification. Right now, we're looking at, we would have to go out to either Kansas City or New Mexico and get like certified. It's a building science training course. Where they learn how to do energy audits. And
learn some of the principles of building science and such during those courses as well.
Exactly.
Okay. That was a BPI, so it's Building Performance Institute, and it's one of their energy auditing tests or certifications, right?
Yep.
Okay. There are a lot of other options within the energy world too. You could do energy rating, which is going into a house, and as you were mentioning earlier, and that's really doing an assessment of that house and how does it perform. So then those programs are typically more, as you said, recommendations, where you could say you can upgrade your furnace and you would save X amount of money. Or if you put in more insulation on a house you had mentioned, you said it had 2 inches of insulation in the attic, so you have at best R8 to 10. New energy code now, the 2021 energy code requires R60 in an attic as its base, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Now you can put in less, or a builder can put in less if they do something else better. That's called what is called a trade-off. But the minimum you can put in a new house today is R38. They say no, you can't have anything less than that for an attic. So if any of the stuff that we're talking about, we're flirting with getting into the weeds, on Work Now Learn, there is a course where you can learn this. You can learn about infiltration and exfiltration, things that you were talking about with the blower door test. You can learn about how heat reacts, the physics behind thermodynamics, or how heat moves is a better way to say it with a bit less wonky as a technical, it's less, I don't know what word I'm looking for, so we'll just skip it. But they can learn that. You can learn building code as it relates to energy efficiency, all sorts of stuff. And I really encourage people to learn some of this on your own, because it's even a bigger asset if they come working for you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And one of the great benefits of doing this kind of work is then I could go home and work on my own house. I could find air leaks in my own home just being here. And that's the idea behind these apprenticeship programs that we have, is like, okay, you come work with us, you learn this for a few months, and then you can go home to your home, to your cousins, your aunts, your friends' home, and you can help them with some of this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you guys hiring right now? Are you looking for people, or
in the coming months?
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I was listening to this and I was interested, would I wait for a couple of months before calling you, or you think I should call you now and just start having a conversation?
Maybe wait 1 or 2 months while we figure out the details of this grant.
Okay.
Yeah.
So more funding so you can benefit and help more houses.
Yeah.
Great. So, excuse me, take a quick look at our comments, and it looks like several people were making some comments in here from the Work Now office, which is fantastic. Thank you for that. And they were filling in where I wasn't giving any more information. So we have links to the Work Now Learn program. There's a link to the Work Now program if you want to become part of the Work Now program and get the supportive services, get access to training, get that covered from a financial perspective. So there's no cost to you if you qualify to participate in those training programs, as well as connections to fantastic people like you all in the programs that you're doing. There is pretty much what we wanted to cover. Do you guys have any closing thoughts that you want to say to anybody interested in jumping into green construction?
I was just thinking that it's kind of neat to put out there with the Green Core and Grit program, what we also provide, the benefit of being a part of that is for some of these young adults getting involved. We allow them to experience and access the outdoors too through this. It's an opportunity to, for example, they get to go on paid camping trips with the Green Corps program as well. So it's just kind of tying in that big, like creating that purpose, that why, that connection to the environment, which I mean, I think really just kind of drives your desire to want to keep getting involved and learning more and being a part of the green careers industry. But since there was someone asking about the GRIT cohort, I just like to make young adult seekers aware of that too. It's just like such a cool benefit of getting involved with Groundwork Denver too. Just creating that sense of well-being too, connection to nature, not just like jumping into like a job, but there's just a lot of like embodiment of purpose too.
Cool.
With our programming.
Excited to learn about how it goes once you launch. Sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. I want to thank both of you for taking. Did you have something else you wanted to say?
Yeah. So like, what I didn't realize coming into this, like, not only are we helping the environment, we're also helping the community. Like, so many homeowners, especially like the elderly homeowners, like, they're very appreciative of eliminating those drafts when it's 10 degrees outside and they have arthritis and they're cold. The furnace goes out. We can support them in that. So it's very rewarding in that end as well. Yeah.
Right. I think you both mentioned you get to go to work, you get paid, and you've got a purpose for what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you both for what you do. Thank you for joining us today. Hope we have people that generate some questions. We're asking you too, if you're watching this video after it's been live, which is a lot of people, please put in the comments any questions that you might have. Whitney has committed to watch all those comments so we know we can ask those questions on our next sessions with other companies. So I hope you allow us to come back towards the end of the year and learn more about what you're doing.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I think that's all we have. And thanks for watching and thanks for participating in construction and in green jobs. And we'll see you in the field. Okay.